The Magic of Oz. Part 2. Chapter 1. Bini Aru and his son Kiki Aru. Well, dear readers, you know now a lot about the land of Oz and its capital, the Emerald City. And you know that there are very many countries in the land of Oz. In one of these countries, the Munchkin country, there lived an old man. His name was Bini Aru. This man had a secret. He knew a magic word. This word could change you into an animal, a bird, a flower, a stone, and it could change you back into your real form. It was a very easy thing to do if you knew how to say the word. The word was... Can you readers say the word? I'm afraid you can't. But Bini Aru knew how to say it. Usually, when Bini Aru went far away from home and was hungry, he said, "I want to become a sheep." He became a sheep at once, and he ate a lot of grass. Then the sheep said, "I want to be Bini Aru again." And the magic changed the sheep back into an old man. Now, Bini Aru was afraid to forget the magic word, so he decided to write it in some secret place. That was a clever idea, but where could he find a secret place? He thought and thought, and at last he decided to find it in his house, in his room. Bini Aru had a son. His son's name was Kiki. Kiki's father told him that he must not come into his room, but Kiki was a wicked boy. Once, when his father was not at home, Kiki opened the door of his father's room and went in. As he came into the room, he stumbled over one of the floorboards. He didn't find any interesting things in his father's room. As he went back to the door, he stumbled again over that floorboard. He looked at the board for a long time. "That's strange," he thought. "Why did I stumble over that board for a second time?" Kiki took the board out and saw some writing on the back of it. The writing told him how to read and say the magic word. Now he knew that the word could change you into a bird or an animal. If you repeated the word again, it could change you back into your real form, into a boy, girl, man, or woman. Now Kiki knew his father's secret. He took a piece of paper and made a copy of the writing. Then he put the board back in its place. "Father must not know that I have his secret," thought the wicked boy. He went into the garden and sat down under a tree. "I always wanted to go away from this country and visit the big world," he thought. "Now I can change my form and be a bird. Then I can fly and see the big world. And I can fly away from this country which I hate so much. But first, I must learn the magic word and remember it. I don't want to be always a bird." So he learned the word by heart, repeated it 100 times. "Now I shall not forget the word," he thought, "and I must find the place for this paper in a secret place." So he put it into a tin box and put the box in a corner of the garden under a big stone. He decided to become a bird at once. So he stood in front of the house and said, "I want to become a big, strong bird. I want to become a hawk." and at once he became a grey hawk. Chapter 2. Kiki wants to be very wicked. Slowly, Kiki rose into the air and flew away into a new world. He flew for a long time. He flew from one country to another and from one city to another. It was late now and Kiki was very tired. He decided to rest a little in a tree. From his tree he could see a big inn. What kind of food do hawks eat, he thought, and where can I get it? Do hawks sleep in trees? But I don't want to sleep in a tree. I want a bed, not a tree. So he flew down to the ground and said, I want to become Kiki Aru again. At once he became a boy. He went to the inn and asked the innkeeper to give him a good supper and a bed. Have you any money? Asked the innkeeper. If you have no money, you must go away at once. Kiki had no money, so he could not stay at the hotel. The boy didn't know what to do. He stood for a long time in the yard of the inn. Suddenly, through an open window, Kiki saw a big room with a table in the middle of it. There was a lot of gold pieces on the table. An old man went up to the table and began to count the money. For one of those gold pieces, I can get supper and a bed, thought Kiki. So he changed his form and became a hawk again. The hawk flew into the room through the open window, caught up one of the gold pieces into its beak, and flew out again. The old man could not catch it. Kiki flew into a tree and dropped the gold piece to the ground. Then he became a boy again. He picked up the gold piece from the ground and put it in his pocket. "You will be sorry for that," cried a small voice over his head. Kiki looked up and saw a little bird in the tree. "Sorry for what?" he asked. "Oh, I saw gold pieces too," said the little bird. "You took one gold piece from the table and flew away. Then you changed back into a boy. That's magic, and magic is wicked. And to steal money is very, very wicked. You will be sorry one day." "Well, all right. I'm wicked," said Kiki. "I'm glad of it. I always wanted to be wicked, but I didn't know how to do it." "Ho, ho, ho!" Kiki heard a big voice behind him. "Very good, my boy. I'm glad I have met you." The little bird was frightened and flew away. Do you want to know who laughed behind Kiki? Read the next chapter and you will find the answer. Chapter 3. Kiki meets a strange man. Kiki turned around and saw a strange old man. He had a fat, big body and very thin legs and arms. He had a big round face. His white beard was very long. Kiki saw that the pockets of his clothes were very big. They were full of jewels. "Who are you?" asked Kiki. "I was once king in the Gnome country in the land of Oz," said the strange old man. "But the people of Oz kicked me out of my country. Now I have no home, and I must go from place to place." "Why did they kick you out?" asked the boy. "Well, in our time it happens very often," answered the king of gnomes. "People just come and kick their kings out of their countries. I thought I was a very good king, but those bad Oz people kicked me out of the country. I don't want to talk about it. let's talk about other things. Who are you, boy? And where do you live?" "My name is Kiki Aru," said the boy. "I lived in the Munchkin country in the land of Oz. Now I go from place to place like you." The king looked at the boy for some time. "Well," he said at last, "I know from the bird that you changed into a hawk and back again into your real form. Is that true?" Kiki thought a little. "I must not be afraid of that gnome king. I shall tell him the truth," he decided at last. "Yes," he said, "that is true." "Then you are a wizard," said the king. "That's very good. I had some very good magic tools, but my enemies, the Oz people, took them all away from me. And where are you going now?" "I'm going to the inn to get supper and bed," said Kiki. "Have you the money for it?" asked the gnome. "Yes," Kiki answered. "I have 1 gold piece." "Which you stole," laughed the gnome. "Very good, and you're glad that you are wicked. I like you, young man. I shall go to the inn with you." When they came into the innkeeper looked at Kiki very angrily and said, "Why did you come again? You have no money for your supper and a bed." Kiki showed the master his gold piece. Then the innkeeper turned to the gnome and asked him, "And how about you? Have you the money for your supper and a bed?" "I have some other good things," said the old man. "I shall show them to you." He took out a bag from one of his pockets and threw a lot of jewels on the table. The innkeeper and Kiki looked at the jewels in surprise. Neither the man nor Kiki knew what to say. Then the innkeeper ran to the kitchen to make a good supper for the gnome and Kiki. "Where did you get so many jewels?" asked Kiki. "Well, I can tell you all about it," said the Gnome King. "When those wicked people of the land of Oz were going to kick me out, they said, 'Take as many jewels as you can carry and go away from the country.' So I made many pockets in my clothes and put a lot of jewels into those pockets. It's very nice to have jewels. For them, you can get all you want." "Oh, don't speak so loud," said Kiki and looked around. After supper, the Gnome King said to Kiki, "I hate all the Oz people. And I hate Ozma, Dorothy, and her friends, the Scarecrow, the Tin Woodman, the Cowardly Lion, and the Wizard of Oz. And I wanted them to be unhappy, but I didn't know how to do it. Now, with your help, I think I can do it. Will you help me to conquer the land of Oz? I shall give you a lot of my jewels. You can have some fine big diamonds, rubies, or emeralds." "He wants to know my secret," thought the boy. "But I don't want him to know it. I shall not tell him my secret." And Kiki said, "No." "Then take all my jewels," said the Gnome King. "No, no, no," cried Kiki. Now the Gnome King was angry. "Then," he said, "I shall tell the innkeeper that you stole that gold piece." Kiki laughed at these words. "Oh," he said, "I am not afraid. I can change into a lion and eat him up. Or I shall become a bird and fly away, and he will not catch me." "Can you really do this?" asked the old man. "Of course I can," answered Kiki. "I can change you into a tree or a stone in a moment, and leave you here by the road." Kiki's words frightened the wicked old man, But he wanted so much to know Kiki's secrets. So he said, "I know what I can do. I can make you King of Oz. Tell me your secret and help me to conquer the land of Oz. The Oz people are my enemies. I want to make them unhappy. I shall change them into trees or stones. When I have conquered the Oz people, I shall go away to my country. You will never see me again, and from that day on you will be king of the land of Oz and rule the country." "I shall think about it," said Kiki. "I don't want to talk about it." Chapter 4. The Gnome's Plans. Next morning the old man said to Kiki, "If you want to help me to conquer the Oz people, we must start for the land of Oz. That is a very long way." "Oh, that's all right," answered Kiki. "I shall change form into a bird, and I shall be there in an hour." "Then change me into a bird too," said the gnome, "and I shall fly with you to the land of Oz." "He's right," thought Kiki. "We can fly to the land of Oz. I think I shall really be king of the land of Oz." And this is what the gnome thought. The boy has a wonderful secret, but he doesn't want to tell me his secret. Of course he's silly. He thinks he can become king of the land of Oz, so I hope he will help me to conquer my enemies. Then the old man said aloud, "Listen to me, boy. I shall tell you my plan. Let us fly to Oz in the form of birds. We shall fly to the big forests there. These forests are full of beasts. We shall promise them to change all the beasts into men and women, and we shall ask them to help us to conquer the people of Oz. After that, we shall give them the houses and all the good things of the Oz people." "And what will happen then?" asked Kiki. "Then," went on the Gnome King, "we shall change all the people of Oz back into beasts and send them to live in the forests. That is a very good and easy plan, isn't it? I think that all the beasts in the land of Oz will like my plan." Kiki Aru didn't know much about the land of Oz. He did not know much about the beasts that lived in the forests of that country. He liked the old gnome's plan, but he was not going to tell him the magic word. "He doesn't know my secret," he thought, "so he can do me no harm now. I shall become the ruler of Oz. Then I shall change him into a stone, and he will do me no harm then," thought the bad boy. "I shall know Kiki's secret," the wicked gnome thought. "I shall change the boy into paper and burn him up." Wicked people are always like this. They try to harm one another. The gnome wanted to do harm to Kiki, and Kiki wanted to do harm to the gnome. "It is a long way to the land of Oz," said the boy, "and it is very hot now. Let us wait. In the evening it will not be so hot, and we shall fly then." "All right," said the gnome, "let us wait." When evening came, they went out into the yard and stopped under a big tree. "Stay here for a few minutes," said Kiki. "I shall soon be back." He walked quickly away. "Where is he going?" thought the Gnome King, but he stood in his place. Suddenly his form began to change. In a moment he became a great eagle. He was frightened, but then he saw another eagle, who was large and strong too. "Now we are ready to start," said the other eagle in Kiki's voice. "I see now that the boy is not so silly," thought the gnome. "He's clever. He doesn't want me to hear his magic word." And the two eagles flew high up in the air. Chapter 5. Birthday Presents for Ozma. Of course, dear readers, you remember Dorothy, the little girl from the great Kansas prairie. And I hope you remember her dear friend Ozma, the ruler of the land of Oz. Dorothy often came to the Emerald City to visit Ozma and to see her other dear friends, the Scarecrow, the Tin Woodman, the Cowardly Lion, and the Wizard of Oz. You remember that he wanted to fly away in a balloon? Well, the balloon fell down not far from the Emerald City, and the wizard came back. But he was not very sorry. He decided to study magic, because he didn't want to be a humbug. Ozma gave him 3 rooms in her palace, and he studied magic there. Now he really knew some magic. One morning, Dorothy took a walk in Ozma's beautiful garden. "What can I give Ozma for her birthday?" Dorothy thought. Suddenly Dorothy saw the Tin Woodman in the garden. "What will you give Ozma for her birthday?" she asked. "It's a secret," answered the Tin Woodman. "But I can tell you. I have a song for her. I can tell you the words with which the song begins. Listen. I'm crazy. You are a daisy, Ozma dear. You are a nice and beautiful fairy. May your birthdays all be happy, Ozma dear." "Well, how do you like it, Dorothy?" asked the Tin Woodman. "Is it good poetry?" asked Dorothy. She didn't like the song. "Of course it is," said the Tin Woodman. "I shall call it like this: when Ozma has a birthday, we are all happy because we love dear Ozma very, very much." "I think it is very long," said Dorothy. "I don't think so," said the Tin Woodman. "And what are you going to give Ozma for her birthday?" "I don't know," said Dorothy. "But I want to give her a very nice present." Dorothy said goodbye to the Tin Woodman and walked to the back of the palace. There she saw the Scarecrow. "Are you going to give Ozma a present for her birthday?" she asked. "Of course I am," said the Scarecrow. "What are you going to give her?" said Dorothy. "I'm making a pair of straw shoes for her," answered the Scarecrow. "Ozma must like straw, because she likes me very much. She knows that my body is made of straw, and I think she will like these nice straw shoes." "And what can I give her for her birthday?" asked Dorothy. "Oh, I don't know," said the Scarecrow. "Think hard, Dorothy. Think very hard, and a good idea will come to you." So Dorothy went to her room, where she sat down and thought hard about a birthday present for Ozma's birthday. She thought and thought. Then she saw Toto and asked him, "What can I give Ozma for her birthday?" "Oh, give her some bones," said the dog. "It will be a great present for her." "A bone is a good present for a dog, but not for a fairy," said Dorothy. "I see. I must think hard again." Dorothy thought and thought, and suddenly an idea came to her. She went to the Wizard of Oz. He was glad to see Dorothy. "Wizard," said Dorothy, "will you help me to make a birthday present for Ozma?" "I shall be very glad to do what I can for you and for Ozma," he answered. "I want to make a great cake," said Dorothy, "and in the middle of it I'm going to hide a lot of very small monkeys. We shall put the cake on the table. Then the monkeys will get out of the cake. They will dance on the table around the cake, and then Ozma will cut the cake." "That's very clever, really, very clever, my dear," said the wizard and laughed. "But your monkeys must be very, very small. Where will you get such small monkeys?" "I hope," said Dorothy, "that you will help me. In the big forest there are a lot of monkeys." "Big monkeys," said the wizard. "Well," said Dorothy, "this is my plan. You and I go to the forest. There we shall catch some big monkeys. Then you will make them small. We shall put those small monkeys in a basket and bring them home. After that, you will teach them how to dance. It will be our secret. And on Ozma's birthday, we shall put them all into the cake. They will know by that time what they must do." "All right," said the wizard. "I think I can do what you want me to do. I'm ready to go with you. Let's take the Cowardly Lion with us. We shall go to the forest on his back, and he will roar and frighten all the beasts there." Chapter 6. Kiki and the Gnome in the Big Forest. There is a very big forest in the middle of the land of Oz. The animals call it Goo Forest, because the king of this forest is the big yellow leopard Goo. All the animals of the land of Oz live in this forest. There are hundreds and hundreds of them there. Goo, the leopard, has 3 friends who help him to rule the forest: the bear, the wolf, and the gray monkey. They are very strong and clever. The other animals in the forest are afraid of them. They obey them and do what the leopard, the wolf, and the gray monkey want them to do. One morning 2 eagles flew high over the forest. In the middle of the forest, the eagles flew down and sat in a tall tree. "Here we shall begin our work," said one eagle. It was the Gnome King. You remember him, of course, don't you? "Are there many animals here?" asked Kiki. "The forest is full of them," answered the gnome. "We must go to them and tell them about our plans. I hope they will like them and will help us to conquer the people of Oz. But first we must change into animals." "What animals shall we become?" asked Kiki. "I think," said the gnome, "that we must not look like other animals." "What animals must we become?" asked Kiki again. "Let us have the heads of lions, the bodies of monkeys, the wings of eagles," said the gnome. "I think that we shall be very strange animals," answered the boy. "Are you afraid to look strange?" asked the gnome. "All right," said Kiki. "You stay here and I shall fly away to another tree and say my magic word." "No," said the gnome. "You must not fly away from me. Make your magic here." "No," cried Kiki. "I shall not do that. You want to know my secret, but I shall not tell you my magic word." The gnome was very angry with Kiki, but he said aloud, "All right, do as you like." The gnome was afraid of Kiki. He must not be angry with me, he thought, or he will not change my form and I shall always be an eagle. And I don't want that. Some day I shall know his secret, and then— Kiki flew to a tree from which the gnome could not hear him. He said, "The Gnome King and I must have the heads of lions, the bodies of monkeys, and the wings of eagles." At once his form changed. He became a strange animal with the head of a lion, the body of a monkey, and the wings of an eagle. Kiki flew down to the gnome, who was now a strange animal too. He looked like Kiki, and they flew down to the ground. Chapter 7. The gnome talks to the leopard, king of the forest. On that morning, Leopard the king and his 3 friends met on a big clearing in the center of the forest. "My dear friends," said Gugu, the king of the forest, "we must decide what we shall do with the animals who did not obey me. A monkey threw a big nut at a fox and broke its head. A bear wanted to kill a giraffe." Suddenly Gugu stopped. He and his friends saw 2 strange beasts on the clearing. "What do they want here?" cried Gugu angrily. The strange beasts came to them. "Good morning, brothers," said the gnome. "We are not your brothers," answered the bear. "Who are you, and why did you come to the forest of Gugu?" The gnome at once thought up a name and said, "We are 2 lemonigs. Our home is in the sky. We came down here to tell you that the people of Oz want to conquer the animals of the forest. The animals of the forest will become slaves of the Oz people. They will do all the work for them." "We shall fight the Oz people," cried the bear. "We shall make them our slaves." "That's right," said the wolf and the gray monkey. "Stop it!" cried Gugu the king. His friends obeyed him at once. He looked at the strange beasts for a long time. "The people of Oz," he said at last, "are neither our friends nor our enemies. They have no slaves, and they do not want to have slaves. I know they don't want to conquer us. I think you are telling us lies, you strange lemonigs." "Oh, I give you my word, it is the truth," cried the gnome. "I shall tell you how we learned about it. One day my comrade and I flew to a forest near the Emerald City. There we saw a lot of people. We heard what they said. They said, 'We shall conquer the animals of the forest and make them our slaves.' We live in the sky," went on the gnome, "but we're animals too, and we want to help you. That is why we're here." The gnome stopped and looked at Gugu and his friends. "And how can you help us?" asked Gugu the king. "Well," said the gnome, "the land of Oz is a very rich country. The people of Oz have very many nice things. They have houses with good beds, they have good food, nice clothes, jewels, and many, many other good things. Let us conquer them before they conquer you. Then you will have all the nice things that they now have. The animals will become the masters of the people. The people will become the slaves of the animals." "But we don't want to become their masters," said the bear, "and we don't know what to do with their things." "Oh, I shall tell you what we are going to do for you," said the gnome. "We are magicians. This is my plan. First you must conquer the Oz people. After that we shall change them into animals and send them to the forest to live there. Then we shall change all the animals of this forest into men and women. Then you will live in the Emerald City, and you will know what to do with the nice things of the Oz people." For a moment they didn't speak. Then Leopard the king said, "Show us that you can really change us. If you are magicians, change Lou the wolf into a man. Then we shall believe you. If you can't do it, we shall not believe you, and we shall kill you." "All right," said the gnome. My comrade will do it, not I." Kiki went a little way from the animals and said his magic word. The wolf at once became a fat little man in a red costume. Gugu the king was frightened. He could not say a word. After a moment he said to the gnome, "Yes, now we believe you." Gugu spoke now like a friend. Then he turned to the animals of the forest. He said, "What shall we say to our friends, the Limonigs? I want the animals of our forest to know all about their plan. They will decide what answer we must give. You, Gray Monkey, go and tell all the animals to come to this clearing tomorrow morning. We shall have a meeting here. The magician will talk to the animals and tell them his plan. If they decide to fight the Oz people, we shall fight them too. And now," he said to the gnome, "you must change our comrade into a wolf again." So Kiki changed the man back into a wolf. The wolf ran away happy. Gugu and his friends went away too. "I hope they will like our plan," said the gnome. "I hope that the animals will fight and conquer the land of Oz. Then I shall punish Ozma and Dorothy and all my enemies." And the gnome laughed. "Don't forget that all the work is done by me," said Kiki. "No, I shall not forget," said the gnome. "I shall not forget. And I promise you that you will be king of the land of Oz." "But will King Gugu let me be king?" asked the boy. "Oh, don't be afraid of him," said the wicked gnome. "You can change him into a tree, and a tree can't do you any harm." "Of course," answered Kiki. But he thought, "I should change the gnome into a tree too. I don't like him. He's very bad. He is not a real friend. He can do much harm." And the gnome thought, "I shall learn the magic word and change Kiki into a stone." So, you see, dear readers, that wicked people can never be real friends. Chapter 8. The Meeting on the Clearing. Next morning all the animals of the forest came to the big clearing. There were hundreds and hundreds of beasts. There were wolves and foxes, bears, lions and monkeys and many other animals. Leopard the king sat down on a big stone, which was his throne. "Brothers," he said in his loud voice, "yesterday 2 beasts of a very strange form came to our forest. They are great magicians. They can change the forms of people and animals. They live in the sky. They are here because they want to help us. My friends, the bear, the wolf, the gray monkey, and I saw their magic work. Now one of the magicians wants to speak to you. Will you listen to him?" "Yes, yes, let him speak," cried all the animals. So the gnome came out in front of the animals. The animals looked at him in great surprise. They looked at his lion's head, his eagle's wings, and his monkey's body. The gnome spoke for a long time. When he finished, one of the animals said, "Can you really change animals into men, women, and children?" "Yes, he can, cried the wolf. Now Gugu, the king of the forest, got up from his throne and said, "You have heard the plan of our friends, haven't you? Now you must give your answer. Do you like the plan?" "Yes," cried some of the animals. "No," cried others. Some animals said neither yes nor no. Gugu the king looked at the animals and said, "Think, think hard. I'm waiting for your answer. If you are ready to answer now, I shall hear you." The animals began to talk to one another. Some of them wanted to fight the Oz people. Others didn't want to fight them. And there were some beasts who didn't want even to talk about fighting. The noise was so great that they could not hear one another. Suddenly the noise stopped. All the animals looked in great surprise at a strange group which they suddenly saw on the clearing. Chapter 9. Dorothy and the Wizard come to the meeting of the animals. A great lion, very big and very strong, came up to the clearing. A little girl was on his back. Behind the little girl sat a funny little man. In his right hand he had a black bag. The little girl and the funny little man jumped down from the lion's back and stood before Gugu the king. "Who are you?" asked Gugu and looked at the girl. All the animals looked at her too. "I'm Dorothy," answered the girl. "And who is the man with you?" asked the king. "This man is the Wizard of Oz," answered the girl. "He is my true friend. He can do wonderful magic tricks. And here is my other friend, the Cowardly Lion. We all live in the Emerald City." "Were you not afraid to come here?" asked Gugu the king. "Oh, no," answered the little girl. "I'm never afraid when I'm with the Cowardly Lion. I know him very well. He doesn't like to fight. That is why we call him cowardly. But when he must fight, he fights so well that no animal can conquer him." The animals of the forest stood around Dorothy and her friends. They listened with great interest to their words. They forgot all about the 2 lemon eggs. But what became of them? Of course you understand that when the gnome saw Dorothy and her friends, he was terribly frightened. He knew them at once. He said to Kiki, "Here are my enemies. They are very dangerous." Then he thought, "I hope that they will not know me in this animal form. They will not know who I am." And what did Kiki do? He stood all the time behind the gnome. He was terribly frightened too. "Now they will learn our plan to conquer the Oz people," he thought. "They will tell the animals of the forest all about us. The animals will kill us." Then he looked at the gnome and thought, "Oh, that wicked gnome! I hate him! How I hate him! I am the magician. I know the magic word and I don't want to obey him. He forgets that I am not his slave. No, I shall not obey him now." Then he looked at the wizard and thought, "That wizard is a real magician. I think he has brought his magic tools in that black bag. I want to have his magic tools. My magic word cannot do what his magic tools can." Kiki thought hard. He ran away from the clearing into the forest and said, "The Wizard of Oz must become a fox." Suddenly the wizard's body began to change its form. In a moment he became a fox. His black box fell to the ground. Kiki flew up to the wizard, caught up his bag and flew away. The fox cried out as loud as he could, "There is a wicked magician here! Help! Help!" His friends heard his cry and were frightened. Dorothy heard his cry too. She looked at her poor friend. Then she cried too, "Help!" But the next moment the little girl's form began to change. Dorothy became a little white lamb. The Cowardly Lion was terribly angry. He looked around. He wanted to find the wicked magician and to kill him. But Kiki said his magic word again. In a moment the great lion became a little boy. Now the lion could not harm Kiki. "Now I shall change the wicked gnome too," thought Kiki. And he changed the gnome into a goose. "I'm afraid of Gugu," thought Kiki. "He's clever and can harm me." So he changed Gugu into a fat woman. Then he flew to a very high tree. He looked down from the tree at the fox, at the little lamb, at the goose, at the boy, and the fat woman. "Oh, how funny they look!" he cried, and he laughed and laughed. Chapter 10. The Gnome Tries to Find Kiki. All the animals on the clearing were terribly frightened now. "Let us run away from this place," they all cried. "The magician can change our forms too." And they all ran away from the clearing very quickly. Only the little lamb, the fox, the boy, and the fat woman stayed in the clearing. They didn't know what to do, so they didn't speak. They only looked at one another. "Who are you?" the boy asked the fat woman. "And who are you?" the fox asked the lamb. "I'm Dorothy," said the lamb. "I'm the wizard," said the fox. "I'm the Cowardly Lion," said the Munchkin boy. "I'm Gugu the King," said the fat woman. But when they asked the goose who he really was, the gnome didn't want to tell them his name. He said, "I'm just a goose, and that is all. And I don't remember what I was before." Kiki Aru flew with the wizard's black bag to a high tree. "Here they can't see me," he thought. "I shall open the wizard's black bag and take his magic tools. With the tools I can do magic, which I can't do with my one magic word." He opened the bag and took out the magic tools one by one. He looked at them for a long time. At last he said, "No, I don't know what to do with these magic tools." Of course he didn't know what to do with the magic tools. Who was Kiki? He was not the magician. He was a wicked boy who knew only how to say the magic word. So Kiki hung the black bag on the tree and began to think of a new plan. Dorothy and her friends, the gnome and Gugu the King, were still on the clearing. They didn't know what to do. "This is magic," said the wizard. "It's not difficult to break this magic with my magic tools, but the tools are in my black bag. And where is the bag? Who knows?" There was no answer. "Let us look for the bag," said Dorothy. "I think we can find it." They all looked and looked for the black bag, but could not find it. The goose, who was really the gnome, wanted to find it too. But he wanted to hide it from the wizard. He was afraid of the wizard. "They will find the bag," he thought, "and then the wizard will change us back to our real form. Then they will know me, and then they will kick me out of the land of Oz. I shall never punish them." So the goose looked for the black bag too, but he could not find it. Then he decided to run away. I must run away from here, he thought, and I must find Kiki. I want him to change me back into a lemonade. He looked around. Then he ran away as quickly as he could. When he was far away from Dorothy and her friends, he began to call, Kiki Aru! Kiki Aru! Kiki Aru was in his tree. He heard the gnome's cries, but he could not decide what to do next. The boy hated the gnome and was afraid of him, but he needed his help. So when he heard the gnome's cries, Kiki Aru, quack quack, Kiki Aru, he flew down to the ground and said to the gnome, I'm here. What do you want of me? Why did you do all this? Asked the goose. Because I wanted to do it, answered Kiki. You must remember that I am the magician, not you. I don't want to obey you. The goose listened and thought, yes, I must obey the boy now. I hope I shall know his secret some day. Then I shall change him into a goose. And he said aloud, You are right, Kiki. Now you will be my master. But you must help me to conquer the land of Oz. You can do it, can't you? How can I help you? Asked the boy. First, change me back into the form of a lemonade. After that we can talk. Wait a moment, said Kiki. He flew back to his tree and said, I want the goose to become a lemonade again. His magic word changed the goose into a lemonade at once. Good, cried the gnome. He was very happy. Now let us find a place where we can talk about my new plan. I don't want the animals to listen to our talk. They went to a small clearing in the forest and sat down on the ground. The gnome said, Listen to me, Kiki. I shall tell you my plan. Chapter 11. The Wizard Learns Kiki's Secret. At that moment a fox came up to the clearing. The gnome and Kiki didn't see the fox because it was behind them. But the fox was really the Wizard of Oz. He looked at the two lemonades and thought, There are two of them now, and a short time ago there was only one lemonade. The goose changed into the beast. I understand it all now. It is all clear now. At last I can tell who changed our forms. The goose and his comrade, the wicked magician. These two beasts are our enemies. I must watch them all the time and see what they will do next. The wizard fox came up to Kiki Aru and the gnome. There was a big tree near them with a big hole in it. I shall hide in the hole and see what those beasts will do next, thought the wizard. He jumped into the hole and watched the two lemonades, and he heard their talk. Well, said the gnome to Kiki, this is my plan. Look at the trees in the forest. They are full of monkeys. We shall change 50 little monkeys into 50 soldiers. The Oz people don't know how to fight. They will be frightened, and the soldiers will conquer them in a day or two. Kiki thought for some time and then said, I like your plan. Can you change those 50 little monkeys all at once? Asked the gnome. No, I can't, answered Kiki. I must change them one at a time. Stay here and I shall go and change the first monkey. But where are you going? Asked the gnome. You know very well that I can't say the magic word when you are near. I shall go where you cannot hear me," answered Kiki. The gnome was very angry when he heard that, but he said, "All right." Kiki got up and went to a tree which stood near them. It was just the tree in which the wizard fox was. Kiki Aru ran up to the tree and tried to look into the hole. It was very dark in the hole, so Kiki didn't see the fox. Kiki said, "I want that monkey in the big tree on the left to become a soldier with a big sword." Then he ran back to the gnome. "I'm so glad I know the magic word now," thought the wizard. "I can change the forms of people and animals now, but first I must remember the word." In a moment a soldier with a big sword stood on the clearing. "Good!" cried the gnome. "Change the other monkeys, quick!" So Kiki ran back to the tree with the hole in it and said his magic word again. He ran to the tree and back 6 times. Soon 6 big soldiers with swords stood in the forest. When Kiki ran back to the gnome for the 6th time, the wizard fox put his head out of the hole. He thought, "I have heard the magic word 6 times. Now I shall try and say it." And he said aloud, "This animal, Limonique, must become a small nut." At once Kiki changed into a small nut. The wizard cried out with joy and jumped out of the hole. "Now I shall change the other one into a big nut," he thought. At that moment the gnome rose from the ground and looked around. He saw the fox, but he didn't see Kiki. "Where is Kiki? Why did he not come back?" he thought. He was frightened. "This Limonique must become a big nut," cried the wizard fox. But, as you see, the order of the letters in the word was wrong. He didn't say the magic word in the right way, so the gnome's form didn't change. The gnome understood at once that it was the magic word. He ran to the fox and said, "You must become a goose." But the gnome said the word in the wrong way too. That's why the wizard fox's form didn't change. He ran away from the angry gnome and hid behind a big tree. The Gnome King repeated the magic word many times, but every time he said it in the wrong way. The fox behind the tree repeated the word many times too, and suddenly he said it in the right way, and the gnome at once became a big nut. The wizard fox said, "I want my real form again. I want to become a man." At once he became the Wizard of Oz again. He picked up the big nut and the small nut. Then he put them into his pocket and ran back to the big clearing, to his friends, as quickly as he could. Chapter 12. The Wizard Changes His Friends' Forms Again. Dorothy, who was a little lamb, cried out with joy when she saw her friend, the wizard, in his real form. The fat woman and the munchkin boy stood around him and looked at him in great surprise. "How wonderful!" they cried. "How did it happen? Who changed you back into your real form?" "First, I shall change you all into your real forms, and then I shall tell you all about it," answered the wizard. He said the magic word and changed his friends, one by one, back into their real forms. Then he told his happy friends of his adventures and showed them the 2 nuts. "Now," he said, "we must not be afraid of those 2 wicked beasts. They are only nuts now. Nuts can't speak, so they can't change their forms and can't harm us." "But listen," cried Dorothy. "What about the soldiers? Where are they now?" "I forgot all about them," said the Wizard, "but I think they must be in the forest. Let's go there at once." The Wizard was right. The soldiers were in the forest. They were so big and tall that they could not make a step in the thick forest. Hundreds and hundreds of monkeys sat in the trees. They looked at the soldiers and talked to one another. They made a great noise. The Wizard and his friends could not hear each other. The Wizard had no magic tools, you remember, but now he knew the magic word, and he quickly changed the 6 soldiers into monkeys. "The Wizard is a very good man," cried the monkeys in the trees. "We like him. We want to thank him." "I must tell you," said the Wizard, "that I want to take 12 monkeys with me to the Emerald City. Who wants to come with me?" At once 12 monkeys cried, "We are ready to go with you. Take us with you, Wizard." Then the Wizard said, "You see, I want only 12 little monkeys. I shall make you very, very small. What will you say to this?" The monkeys cried, "All right, make us small." The Wizard put a small basket on the ground and said, "My monkeys must become very small." And suddenly all saw in the basket 12 very, very small monkeys. "And now we shall say goodbye to you," said the Wizard of Oz. "I promise to bring back your brothers and sisters soon. They will be happy in the Emerald City, but this is their home, and you know that, east or west, home is best." Dorothy and the Wizard said goodbye to all their friends. "Goodbye, friends," said Gugu the Leopard. "I like you. I know that you are the true friends of animals. We shall always be glad to see you in our forest. Goodbye." The Wizard and Dorothy went away on the back of the Cowardly Lion. The basket with the little monkeys in it was in the Wizard's hand. For a long time the monkeys in the trees cried goodbye to their new friends. Chapter 13. Ozma's Birthday. At last our friends came home. The Wizard began to teach the 12 little monkeys at once. They were very clever. The Wizard was very kind to them, and the monkeys loved him very much. Soon they were ready to do all the tricks which the Wizard wanted them to do. At last Ozma's birthday came. You must know that Ozma's birthday was always a great holiday in the land of Oz. On that day, all the people in all the countries of the land of Oz decorated their houses with flowers and flags. The people sang, danced, and played games. Ozma's palace stood in the middle of a big garden. The garden was full of flowers and fountains. Hundreds and hundreds of birds sang in this garden. There was some writing on a board near one of the fountains. This is what that writing said: "Don't drink from that fountain. If you drink the water from this fountain, you will forget all that you knew before. You will forget even your name." On her birthday, Ozma always gave a great dinner at her Emerald Palace. And on that day, too, Ozma's friends, people and animals, came to her palace from all the countries of the land of Oz. Ozma was always glad to see her friends. She laughed and talked with all of them. Then 4 beautiful girls brought in a very big cake and put it in the middle of the table. There were flowers and lighted candles on it. In the center of the cake there were letters which were made of sugar. Ozma's birthday cake from Dorothy and the Wizard. Ozma cried with joy, "Oh, how beautiful!" "And now," cried Dorothy, "now you must cut the cake and give a piece to each of us." Ozma took a knife and cut the cake. Suddenly, a little monkey jumped out of it. Then 11 more monkeys jumped out of the cake. "Many happy returns!" cried the monkeys. They danced and did some acrobatic tricks. All their tricks were very funny. Ozma and her friends laughed very much. "Thank you, dear Dorothy," said Ozma, "and you, dear Wizard, for your wonderful present." Dorothy and her friend, the old Wizard, were very glad that Ozma liked their birthday cake so much. After that, the Tin Woodman sang his song, and all Ozma's friends liked it very much too. On the morning after Ozma's birthday, the Wizard and Dorothy went out for a walk in Ozma's wonderful garden. Ozma too came out of her Emerald Palace for a walk in the garden. She came up to Dorothy and the Wizard and said, "You have told me a lot about your adventures in the Gugu Forest, but I want you to tell me more about them. I want to know how you got those little monkeys for the birthday cake." So they sat down on an emerald bench opposite one of the fountains. Dorothy and the Wizard began to tell Ozma about their adventures. Ozma listened to them with great interest. Then she said to the Wizard, "So you changed those terrible lemon inks into nuts. And where are they now?" "Oh, I forgot about them," answered the Wizard. "They must be in my pocket." And he took 2 nuts out of his pocket and showed them to Ozma. Ozma looked at the nuts for a long time and then said, "No, I don't think that it is right to leave them in the form of nuts. I think, Wizard, that you must change them back into their real forms. Don't forget, Ozma, that they are very wicked," said the Wizard. "And we don't know their real forms, do we?" "No, no, but we must not be afraid of 2 living things," said Ozma. Ozma was very, very kind. "Even if they are our enemies or wicked magicians," she went on. "I'm afraid, Ozma," said the little man, "that they know some magic which can do us much harm." "I have an idea," cried Dorothy. "Please do as I tell you, and their magic will not harm us." "What is it, my dear?" asked Ozma. "Look at that writing on the board," said the girl. "Read it. The writing says that we must not drink from that fountain, or we shall forget all that we knew before, even our names. Let the Wizard change the nuts into their real forms and make them thirsty. Then they will run to the fountain and drink some water. Then they will forget all, even their names." "That's not a bad idea," said the Wizard. "I think it is a very good idea," said Ozma. "Run for a cup, girl." Chapter 14. Again Kiki and the Gnome. Dorothy ran away and was soon back with a cup. She put the cup near the fountain. The Wizard put the small nut near the fountain too. He said, "That little nut must take its real form, and I want it to become thirsty." At once the nut changed into Kiki, the boy from the Munchkin country. The boy looked around in great surprise. He could not understand where he was, and he was terribly thirsty. He was very glad when he saw the cup and the fountain. He took up the cup and ran to the fountain. And he drank and drank, one cup after another. He forgot his name and the name of the country he lived in. He looked around and saw Ozma, the wizard, and Dorothy. He didn't remember either their names or who they were. But he found Ozma very beautiful, and he liked the little girl and the old man. So he smiled to them. For the first time in his life, Kiki smiled a kind and happy smile. Dorothy liked his smile. "Come and sit here beside me," she said to the boy. The boy obeyed her. He ran to her and sat down on the bench beside her. "I thought you were a wicked magician, and you're only a boy," she said. "What is a magician and what is a boy?" he asked. "Don't you know?" asked Dorothy. "No, I don't," he answered. "He is not wicked now," said Ozma. "He is a very nice boy. He will live with us, and we shall teach him to be kind and to love people. It is very good that he has forgotten his past. And now," she said to the wizard, "please change the big nut. We want to see the boy's comrade." The wizard put the big nut on the ground near the fountain and said, "I want this big nut to take its real form and become very thirsty." In a moment, the gnome stood before our friends. He was terribly thirsty and looked only at the water in the fountain. He was going to drink and took up the cup. At that moment, Dorothy cried out, "Why, it's the old Gnome King!" The old man looked at them and cried out very angrily, "Yes, I am the Gnome King. I'm going to conquer the land of Oz, and I shall punish all the people in the countries of the land of Oz. You kicked me out of my country. Now I shall fight you, and I shall kick you out of the land of Oz." His long white hair rose up in the air. His eyes were terrible. Ozma and her friends looked at their enemy in great surprise and could not say a word. The gnome laughed his wicked laugh. He drank the water from the cup. Then he threw the cup on the ground and said angrily, "And now, and now, and—" He touched his head with his hand and thought for some time. "I have forgotten what I told you about." "What was it?" he asked with a smile. "Can't you remember it?" asked the wizard. "No, I can't," said the gnome. "I have forgotten." "Who are you?" asked Dorothy. The gnome tried to remember. He thought for some time. Then he said, "I don't know who I am. I can't remember." "And don't you know who we are?" asked Dorothy. "No, I don't," said the gnome. "Do you know this boy?" asked Ozma. The old man looked at Kiki for a long time. Then he said, "No, I don't. I don't know either him or you." "What shall we do with him?" asked the wizard. "He has forgotten his past, and he will not do any harm now," said Ozma. "We must not send him away from the land of Oz, because Then he will become wicked again. We must find a place and same work for him in the land of Oz. Here he will see only good and kind people, so he will become as good and kind as they are." So Kiki, Aru, and the gnome found a new home in the Emerald City, the capital of the land of Oz. Ozma, Dorothy, and the wizard taught the boy and the old man to be kind and to love people. Soon Kiki and the gnome became as good and kind as all the people in the land of Oz.